Yeah, you read the title correct. You saw the thumbnail correctly. There are some people that think Bitcoin is going to over $1 billion, and these aren't people high on drugs. These aren't people that are completely drunk, moonboying. No, there are real institutions that are saying this right now. We also just got one of, I think, the more respected YouTubers out there that just went through how Bitcoin could hit $43 billion. And these numbers are kind of nuts. Even Hal Finney, who worked on Bitcoin when it was being developed, he has some crazy math. This is when Bitcoin was just a few dollars. I want to walk you through it. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. To be clear, I'm going to get some hate comments. I'm not saying this is going to happen, and we're going to have a lot of volatility in the meantime. But even if there's a 1% chance, this is nuts. You want to consider this. And to be clear, I do have videos explaining Bitcoin and Bitcoin for beginners, investing for beginners. I'll put that playlist on the end screen in case this is way past where you're going, because we're not really talking about what Bitcoin is in this video. We're just going through some of the math. Now, if you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. Most of my videos are more news-based, but this is one of those ones that's a rare, like, moon boy math scenario. Also, there is a link underneath the video to Margex in case you want to start trading cryptocurrency. You can use the link underneath the video. You get a deposit bonus. You can start trading Bitcoin. Imagine you go 5x or something like that, and Bitcoin does anything close to what these numbers are. There's also a link underneath the video to CoinW in case you want to buy spot Bitcoin, which is just normal Bitcoin, not leverage trading, not borrowing or anything like that. You can just buy spot Bitcoin with the link underneath the video to CoinW. Now, Mark Moss just made a video, and some people obviously don't like Mark Moss. He's got a big channel, so he's always going to have people that think he's too moon boyish, but he goes through shocking math, how Bitcoin could reach $46 billion. Let me know if you want me to reach out to him to get him on the channel. I'd love to have him on. He's got a huge channel. He's obviously very bullish on Bitcoin, but he made a really good video. He talks about what money is, how we transition from gold to money, and now we're maybe transitioning to Bitcoin. And he goes through a lot of different probabilities. He goes through a lot of different scenarios and calculations. One of the things that he looks at is store of value. Basically, if gold just takes, if Bitcoin just takes some of the market share away from other stores of value. And we've done this before. We've looked at it on the channel. We've talked about this because I think this is coming from ARK Invest. I've seen ARK Invest do this, but other people have done it too. Basically showing, okay, gold's now $13 trillion market cap. Cars and other collectibles, $6 trillion. Fine art, $18 billion or $18 trillion. Stock market, $115 trillion. Real estate, $330 trillion. Bonds, $300. Money, $120. And basically just taking some of the market share away from these and into Bitcoin. Now we'll get to what this causes Bitcoin's price to be here in a second, because I don't think what he's saying here is even right. I think it's higher, but we do have some crazy numbers. I mean, and it's hard because we're not very good at compounding growth. We don't really understand it as humans. It's not naturally occurring in nature. We're used to linear things, like 1 + 1 = 2. You do that for 300 days, well, you have 300, right? We're not good at exponential growth. So let's say Bitcoin, even if you're not crazy, but you're not even crazy bullish on Bitcoin, but you just think that it's going to be a little bit more bullish than something like the stock market, right? Like the stock market goes up 10% a year, and it pretty much just goes up with debasement of currency or the printing of currency. So let's say Bitcoin just becomes a little bit more allocated to than all the other assets in the economy, right? Because stocks go up because people are using assets or using materials. They're buying stuff, right? So however much money is printed is basically however much the stock market goes up on average. So let's say Bitcoin goes up 15% a year for the next 26 years. So by 2050, we're looking at. If it goes up 15%, just 5% more than the S&P 500, assuming that we're not even debasing any faster or printing any faster, well, you're going to have a $2.3 million Bitcoin. So kind of crazy, right? That's a big number. right? Some people don't think we're going to get that high, but that is a nice 550x from here, maybe a little bit less, 30, 40x. Now, what if we go a little bit more aggressive? What if instead of 15%, it compounds at 25%? It's grown much more than that now. Some people would say that's way too high to compound at for the next 26 years. But on the other hand, we've gone up 50,000x, and that's without any large institutions buying. That's also when almost all of the supply has come to the market. 93.5% of the supply has come to the market. Now we only have 6.5%, and that's over the next 100 plus years that's going to be mined. So you're looking at very small supply left, and if everyone's holding, the price goes exponentially up, and there are a lot of long-term holders. So in this case, if it compounds at 25%, well, you're looking at a $20 million Bitcoin. Now, we'll come back to this scenario here. We'll come back to here, but Hal Finney, who helped develop Bitcoin way back in the day, he said the current estimates of total worldwide household wealth have ranged from 100 trillion to 300 trillion, with 20 million coins, really 21 million. That gives each coin a value of about 10 million. Again, this is when Bitcoin was worth a few dollars. He said this. Imagine that. Imagine having that kind of conviction. He did call it an amusing thought experiment, right? He's not necessarily saying that it was going to happen, but still, this is extremely bullish. He probably got laughed out of almost every room he was in if he said, yeah, Bitcoin, which has already gone up a couple hundred X's, yeah, it's going to 1 million X from here. Yeah, a lot of people would not even pay attention to him, this magic internet money. But it does provide real value to people, right? Now, Fidelity also predicts large numbers for Bitcoin. Someone at Fidelity predicted a $1 billion Bitcoin. And this is not some random person. This is Jurian Timmer, Director of Global Macro at Fidelity Investments. Now, he's not saying that it will be worth that much, but he says it could be. Timmer also believes that Orange Coin could hit 1 million before this decade is over. So, yeah, he bases this on Metcalfe's law, adoption, supply and demand. This is one of the most well-respected asset managers in the space, and this came out 3 years ago. They're allocating towards Bitcoin now. They're getting clients to buy Bitcoin. This is kind of crazy, and this is not Fidelity's. This is not their whole company's stance, but someone there who's very important predicts this, or is saying that this is possible. Now, what if we go back to this scenario, right? This $200 trillion. A lot of people look at this chart and they say, okay, well, if Bitcoin pulls all this capture, we could go up to $200 trillion. But remember, there is a multiple effect. If someone goes and buys $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, the market cap doesn't go up by $1 billion. It goes up by, at the time of this recording, about 100x that. So that's oftentimes offset by people taking profits. But imagine if this is all fresh money coming into Bitcoin. It could go up much more than that because, yeah, we have 6 trillion going into Bitcoin. That would send up the price exponentially. And it's hard to even model because you put in 100 billion and it sends it up 100x that. So it sends it up $10 trillion. And you put in the next 100 billion and you're buying at a higher price. There's really no way of even knowing how high this would push because you're talking about dumping $200 trillion into a very fixed supply asset. It could go up exponentially. I mean, we could be talking about billions of dollars per Bitcoin in this scenario if it really does take market share from these other assets. I mean, even if you don't want to be that bullish, right? Even if people just stop investing or putting their money that's on the sidelines in dollars and they put it into Bitcoin instead. I've seen other people talk about this. USD is a inferior currency to Bitcoin. And if people start understanding that, and instead of putting money in money market funds or in checking accounts, they put it in Bitcoin as their savings account, that alone could skyrocket the price. I mean, right now there's $6 trillion in money market funds, 100x multiple. It's $600 trillion. That's a 600x from here. That is well above anyone's expectations except for a few people. Now, Mark Moss goes through how he thinks it could actually hit 46 billion. In the video, he says 43, but in the title, it says 46 billion. Okay. So, yeah, people are bullish. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying that at all. But what if there's a 0.1% chance of $1 billion Bitcoin? If the other scenario is there's a 99.9% chance Bitcoin goes to zero, that values Bitcoin at a weighted value of $100,000. Right? That's crazy. But it's not 99.9% chance that goes to zero. Maybe it's 5%. And everything in between now and $1 billion, there's some probability. So, I mean, there is a lot of value in Bitcoin. We are seeing people get bullish on Bitcoin. We are seeing people swallow up Bitcoin and institutions buy Bitcoin. Again, this isn't supposed to tell you what the price of Bitcoin will be at any time in the future, but it's just supposed to get you thinking about more than just a couple $1 billion in inflows. Really, if Bitcoin becomes adopted, how some people think, the sky's the limit. Now, if you want to trade Bitcoin, if you want to go long on Bitcoin to get even more access to capital to put into Bitcoin, there's a link to Margex underneath the video. I do think making sure that you have your security down tight for Bitcoin and making sure that you have spot Bitcoin is smart too. So definitely check out the links underneath the video. I appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you want to see future videos like this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.